Hey everyone, and welcome back to my completionist playthrough of the Baldur's Gate Saga with SCS. So here we are, in the mountains, continuing our conquest of the Fire Giant Temple. But before we get back to it, we've got some leveling up to do. First on Jaheira, she's going to become a level 17 fighter, get some improvements to her saving throws, Thaco, and a very valuable high-level ability point. And those really are precious on Jaheira, considering she's a multi-class character that effectively doesn't level up in one of her two classes. And that's of course because it takes such a long time to get to that level 15 in Druid. So these decisions really do matter for her, as we will not have quite as many points to work with. Anyway, when it comes to her optimal high-level ability development, I would say the way to go would be to give her some more hardiness. Especially in the previous episode, we've been able to witness the damage-dealing capabilities of Throne of Bhaal enemies. And having more hardiness is just always good on our fighters, but in the playthrough I think we're going to go for a little bit more variety and start giving Jaheira some more spells now. And there are quite a few options to consider here. Like for example, it would be nice to eventually give her access to Storm of Vengeance. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to spare a high-level ability point for that anytime soon, but it would be nice to have the option. Also, Globe of Blades is pretty fun on druids, especially considering the fact that they don't have access to the level 6 Blade Barrier spell that clerics have access to. So that type of effect they can only achieve through Globe of Blades, and that would fit Jaheira very well. Same with Aura of Flaming Death. That would be a useful spell for her, here and there at least. When it comes to Summon Deva, we are just going to leave the angelic side of things to Anomen, and Jaheira as a druid is going to focus on elemental summoning spells. And let's actually talk about this line of spells, the elemental summoning and then the greater variation of it. So elemental summoning is available both to clerics and druids, and it can summon two pretty powerful elementals, or there's a 10% chance that an elemental prince will be summoned instead. And then greater elemental summoning, which is available only to druids, outright guarantees that we are going to summon an elemental prince to help us. And I just wanted to draw a little attention to these beings. These elemental princes are also known as archomentals, and they are just supreme elemental beings that rule over their lesser kin, not necessarily like rule over the entirety of the elemental plane they belong to, but still they are very powerful creatures and of a high status. So that's why they give themselves titles like prince or princess. And there's always a good and an evil prince of the creatures belonging to any of these elements, and the ones we can summon are the good ones, the good aligned ones. So for example, Zaman Rule, the technical term to for his title I guess would be the Prince of Good Fire Creatures, and their evil equivalents, we're actually going to meet basically all of the notable ones over the course of Throne of Bhaal, and it's a bit of a shame that there's not much more exposition when it comes to these creatures. Because unless you know this part of the lore, you don't really know who you are supposed to be encountering in actuality whenever we meet, like a named elemental guy. And actually, when it comes to the Prince of Evil Fire Creatures, Imix, we are going to meet him here in this very temple. At the end of it, this is going to be our final encounter here, actually. And by the way, this is actually incorrect because Chan and Sunis are supposed to be female, so they should be elemental princesses of air and earth, respectively. But anyway, last thing about the elementals, I've talked about that before, but this is a very appropriate moment for a little refresher. There's the mod aTweaks, and it has the component PNP Elementals that I did not install, and that component of course improves elementals in a variety of ways in an attempt to bring them closer to what they are supposed to be in pen and paper Dungeons and Dragons. And that of course affects our own elementals that we can summon as well. So Aerial Servant or Jaheira's Fire Elemental are some prime examples of that, but also these elemental princes, which with the component installed, they are quite insanely powerful. So, I guess for legitimate good reasons, I guess when it comes to the lore, but for gameplay reasons I decided to go and not install that component so that they are not quite as powerful. And yeah, that's going to be our selection for this level for Jaheira, I think. Also, one thing specifically about Jaheira is the fact that we always have to remember about her very, very limited level 7 memorization slots. Right now she only has one, and she is going to get another one soon through a ring that we're not too far off from obtaining, actually. But yeah, when it comes to spells that are just, nice to have, but not that crucial, that also plays a factor here. That's, Jaheira doesn't have like that many level 7 spell memorization slots to really kind of afford some more extravagant selections, perhaps. But yeah, we're going to still want to showcase some of her spells, but we're just going to have to be careful with our selections. So I think when it comes to Jaheira, it's kind of a more straightforward way to give her more fighter related high-level abilities, especially hardiness. But anyway, that's it for Jaheira for now. And now, before we level up Anomen, I actually wanted to provide a clarification for something that I said a couple of episodes ago when I was talking about the duration of our spells. And basically, I said that the 1 round per level spells on Anomen, since he is level 28, would last for 28 rounds, but that's not correct. For some brain lag reason, I blurted that out, but of course, most spells cap at level 20, both when it comes to their effect and their duration. So the point still stands now that we are all very high level. Even those 1 round per level duration spells last for a really nice long time, for 20 rounds max. But yeah, that was not entirely correct information there. But anyway, now level 21 for Anomen, and his level ups are not going to be too impressive from now on, now that he's going to have all of his high level abilities. And now his level 7 spell selection is quite nice, quite extensive. He definitely does have some options, and he does have the spell slots to kind of indulge in that whole thing. But anyway, another thing that we need to do is, of course, check out the loot that we got in the previous episode, especially this belt, the Girdle of Fire Giant Strength, which is the best out of the strength-enhancing belts, giving us 22 strength. And this is going to be a good belt for Jaheira or Kirinai, but for now, for this specific place, we are going to give it to Sarevok, which normally I would argue that it's not a good decision, because of course he, as a pure fighter with very good base strength, his Thaco is going to be supreme among our party members, and he is going to get a damage increase from the additional strength and 1 Thaco increase, but it's not that impressive. Jaheira or Kirinai would benefit much more from a belt like that, and they are going to get it soon. But I want Sarevok to have this belt for now, because in this specific place we really want to focus on making sure that he connects with his strikes with the Wave Halberd, to just make sure that he instantly kills crucial enemies that we want to instantly kill. So he's going to get it just for now. Also, we need to loot some of these fire giants we killed at the end of the last episode. There is some scavenging to do.
I can hold no more. That item has been dropped.
Alright, and that seems to be it. And anyway, in the previous episode, we have obtained those 2 ward stones that will now allow us to activate these plates here, these inscriptions. There was a little bit of lag because activating those is going to remove the energy barriers here, and that also makes the monsters there spawn. And of course, the SCS scripts, when they load, they sometimes need a little time when it comes to involved enemies like liches, for example. But anyway, before we go to that western chamber, that is very much changed by SCS, we're first going to do this one, and I think we're going to have to renew some of our buffs, heal up a little bit, and also, while we're on the topic of healing, that reminds me that I wanted to distribute some of our best healing potions now. We have 39 on Kirinai's, or in Kirinai's potion case, and we have 58 in Sarevok's one. So let's just get 2 full stacks out and give them to our characters that are pretty vulnerable, and especially ones that have... Why do we even carry these small potions still? But especially characters that have big health pools and really need that kind of thing. So Kira and I can definitely get some, and I guess Jaheira. We're still going to keep using the Shadows of Amn potions for like out of combat healing especially. But anyway, I think we're going to have to renew some Armors of Faith on our Divine Casters, and I think Sarevok doesn't have his protection, yeah, his fire resistance anymore. And I think I'm going to give him just outright this protection from fire here. And we're also going to give him a Potion of Invisibility for what we're about to do. It's not going to be too spectacular, because most of the creatures here can see invisible, but the fire salamanders that are going to be here cannot. And basically the idea, when it comes to this encounter in the eastern chamber, is that there's going to be one of these burning men, and we want to kill him as soon as possible with Sarevok before we really go in with all of our other characters to, you know, not have the possibility of that dispel going on. And you know, some creatures that see invisible in this chamber are going to, of course, notice Sarevok and move in to attack him. But since the Fire Salamander are not going to be able to see him, the idea is to like reduce the possibility of a traffic jam and those creatures blocking Sarevok's path to that burning man, so that he can just get there, do a quick swing with the Wave Halberd, kill that burning man, and then we move in with all of our all the rest of our party members. Also, when speaking about that potent dispel, I didn't say that explicitly in the last episode, but of course that dispel, because it dispels spell protections, that means that not even spell immunity to abjuration is going to work against that dispel magic that it also bestows upon a character. And the spell shield is just outright ignored by that ability. It doesn't stop it. It's not consumed by it, but it's just completely ignored. So basically, yeah, there is no stopping that dispel. So that's what we're going to do here. Have Sarevok ready.
Yes?
I think there's... oh yeah, one more thing that we can do, because we are going to want to have Imoen also protected. We are going to just give her one green scroll, protection from fire. You can apply that on yourself, and also we need some potions not to overburden you.
Name it.
Alright, so let's get back to business here. Alright, so that's that burning man in the middle there. There's also a notable opponent here, this flaming skull that we have not seen yet. And this is basically kind of like a floating skull mage, not quite a demi-lich, but it's going to be able to throw out some fire-based spells like some fireballs, incendiary clouds, and flame arrows. Also, it has a general attack called Magma Ball, but as long as we are protected against fire, it's not going to be able to do too much. It has stone skins here. It also has 75% resistance to all physical damage except crushing, and it's actually very vulnerable to cold, but in practice it doesn't really matter because it also has 75 magic resistance. So, you know, casting cold-based spells to deal some damage to it, it's just way more trouble than it's worth. It requires a lot more preparation than just going in with physical damage, especially crushing damage. But anyway, there's also going to be, oh yeah, these guys, the Fell Cats. And they are much improved in our mod setup. In general, when it comes to this place, most of the changes are done by SCS. A lot of the changes actually are done by SCS. But anyway, these Fell Cats in the unmodded game, they even look different. They just look like Black Panthers. Here they look a little bit more magical, I guess. But anyway, the special thing about them here is that with every successful attack, they drain our fire resistance, or lower our fire resistance, by 25, and they have 4 attacks per round. So that makes them quite high priority targets, actually. And what's also interesting is that they are only level 12, so if at this point in the game you have a greater death blow on any of your fighters, you can actually activate that and kill them instantly, which is pretty handy, especially when it comes to the kind of penultimate encounter here once we progress upstairs. But anyway. Alright, nice successful attack on that burning man. Now let's kind of retreat with Sarevok and move in with our other characters. Yeah, there's that incendiary cloud coming from the flaming scroll. Let's just put it somewhere else so it's not too problematic. Also, I think we might try and get a backstab in with Kirinai, because even though these Felcats see invisible, they can be backstabbed. And we'll see if that's going to be successful for us. Alright, that incendiary cloud is there. There was also a fireball, I think. Yeah, fireball coming from that skull. But yeah, as long as we have our fire resistance, we are pretty safe. The problem is keeping that fire resistance in the presence of these fell cats. And let's try to... Actually, let's try to still move out of this area here. Alright, now let's try to get to them. And perhaps offer them a little backstab here. Seems to have failed. Okay, they are immune to backstab then. I thought you could backstab them. But it seems like I remembered wrong. Most creatures here you can backstab. The flaming skull you cannot, because, well, it's a floating skull. I guess it would be kind of problematic. But the fire giants you can, and we are actually going to engage in that soon. Even though I think an attempt, a backstab attempt from a creature our size would basically just like stab the back of their knee or something, but it still works. It still works. Anyway, let's check out our fire resistance. Just 75 fire on Sarevok now, because he got drained once. Okay, here we have 100, here we have 85. That's what it should be. Alright, we are fine when it comes to that. We, of course, also have some fire resistance potions that we can use to quickly increase our fire resistance, but I don't think in this situation this is going to be... Well, the flaming skull is still active, so let's actually drink one on Sarevok, just to be sure. Alright, gulp. Now we can switch to his wave halberd to instantly kill the fire salamanders, because that is yet another type of creature that it instantly kills. And with everyone else, we can go and try to get this flaming skull. Just so it's not problematic. Alright, and also upon death, the flaming skull explodes in magical damage. And this is way too much of an inconsequential ability to really protect yourself against when it comes to just this one ability. But it's kind of similar to Irenicus's demons in Hell. Anyway, now that we are done with this, of course there's going to be another encounter once we loot this container for another ward stone. And we're actually going to move out with... Actually, we don't have to move out. We're just going to spread out, because there are going to be some bone fiends with their cones of cold that I don't want to be too effective. I don't want them to get too much value out of them. By the way, a zone of sweet air that you might be thinking I could use to remove this incendiary cloud. It does not work on incendiary cloud. It only works on like toxic clouds, like cloud kill or stinking cloud. So I'm just going to wait this out, this incendiary cloud. It should go away soon. And our health situation seems to be good. We all have chaotic commands, which is going to also matter in what's about to happen. So let's just kind of spread out a little bit. Imoen can just be outside. And I think you can just switch to throwing again.
Of course. What is it? It will be.
Alright. So now there's going to be 2 bone fiends and this Erinis, or Erinius. There's actually apparently 2 proper pronunciations. Anyway, those are all devils, so lawful evil aligned fiends. And she can use some charm person spells and that kind of stuff. We don't really care about that with our chaotic commands. And the bone fiends can teleport around and they can throw those cones of cold. And also, I think I should have refreshed our remove fear, because they also have that kind of demonic fear aura going. And they can also go invisible. I think we can spare a quick true sight on Manaman. I think we should be cool. Yeah, because every one of these guys can actually go invisible. It's going to be a little annoying. Alright, now Imoen, you can perhaps go in. Damn, I flicking is really inaccurate. My hands are cold.
What is it without doubt?
And Kira I just left her to be standing uselessly
Quickly
there.
and precisely.
That was a mistake, of course.
I can hold no more. That item has been dropped. Yes?
Anyway, we got this third wardstone, the blood one, and we also got Scion's Blade, which is a pretty notable two-handed sword. It's +5 enchanted, and it grants us immunity to confusion and all psionic attacks. So this is pretty cool. It comes a little bit late in the game, but since we have not yet done Watcher's Keep, this is going to be useful for us. And also in its description, it mentions that it's possibly of Drow origin, but I would say that it's way more likely that it's of Githyanki's making, considering its name, considering the fact that it's a two-handed sword, and considering the special hatred, the purpose of the blade to combat specifically Illithid. I think that fits Githyanki way too much. And what can we do here? We're just going to keep that blade on Sarevok. He's going to be the user of that. Alright, and before we go to the Western Chamber, we're going to have to do some pre-buffs on our mages. Specifically anti-mage pre-buffs, because SCS gives us a Lich to encounter here. Alright, we're going to give ourselves some mirror images. Oh yeah, let's actually refresh that remove fear. Now, I don't think we're going to use haste yet, although actually for this one we want to. Just use normal haste and then get some globes of invulnerability and all that stuff. Because basically when it comes to this encounter here, kind of an intuitive way to do it is to pull everything but the Lich first, deal with these creatures, and then go for the Lich separately. But I think we're just going to barge in.
Yes? I await your news.
I shall go forth at your
And just take on all of them
Yep.
at the same time to make things more interesting.
What do you want?
Alright,
Yes, without
so
hesitation.
that's done. Do we need to do anything else? I do not think so. Let's just go in. And yeah, here's a Fire Lich, a very specific creature that actually was, I think, supposed to be here. I think SCS mentions that it was in some capacity in the game files, and I think it was supposed to be here, but didn't end up being here. So SCS kind of restores this creature, and we're also going to have two noble Ifriti to deal with here. That of course we can instantly kill with our wave halberd, and we are going to go for that. At least when it comes to one of them. Perhaps we're going to give the other a little bit more of a chance. But anyway, this Fire Lich is a level 33 mage, and he's going to be mostly focusing on throwing around fire-based spells like Meteor Swarms and Incendiary Clouds and stuff like that. So of course we need our fire protections, but there are these fell cats here that want to reduce our fire resistance, of course. And these Noble Ifriti, of course, have Firestorm as well, and some other fire spells available to them.
Speak.
Well, let's just allow this Lich to have his full list of protections. He has immunity to Abjuration, which doesn't really matter. We wouldn't be able to affect him with Remove Magic anyway. Oh yes, that's a very important thing I forgot to mention when it comes to the level of our spellcasters, and of course most spells, effects, and durations capping at level 20. Progressing in our spellcasters' levels is still beneficial to us, though, and because of the relation when it comes, or between their spell effects and the Dispel Magic and Remove Magic that are cast to, dispel these effects. So the spellcaster level progressing is still beneficial in the fact that it makes our spells more difficult to dispel. But anyway, he does have Spell Trap. And does he have Spell Shield is the question. Doesn't seem like it. Just Spell Turning, Spell Shield, and... sorry, Spell Turning and Spell Trap. and no spell shield. And that means that we can use Seneshira's spell strike that we have just for this very reason, just for him, to dispel all of his protections. However, our true seeing on Animan is still ticking. We'll see if he is going to be susceptible to that, or if we have to use Seneshira's true sight. We'll see about that. There's a firestorm coming towards Jaheira. That's what I've been trying to assess, this firestorm. Who is the target of that? Let's actually try to get it out there. Sarevok is going to instantly kill one of these Noble Ifriti, and we're just going to move with Jaheira, with Seneshira and Imoen, and kind of be ready for some spells. I think, you know, since liches are not supposed to be affected by true seeing anyway, I think I am going to spend a round and cast this true sight on Seneshira that we actually have, or should have, just have already active when entering this room. I kind of forgot to pre-buff, quote unquote, with it. Alright, so that's one Noble Ifriti killed, and I think that's going to be the extent of it. The firestorm is in effect. Alright, now let's check your fire resistance. Okay, still 100, so they did drain another 25. There's also two Mordenkainen swords that might be a little problematic when it comes to some interruptions. We'll see about that. I think we're going to go in with Animan as well and try to get rid of these fell cats. Alright, there's a time stop coming from the Fire Lich, but we did manage to dispel his illusions. Should be able to get to him soon. And there's a remove magic on Sarevok. We're going to have to kite away, because that remove magic, of course, is going to be super successful. Spell strike on Seneshira, that's going to be consumed by her spell shield, and then recast of protection from magical weapons. Alright, Sarevok, time to leave this place. And that's actually a little problematic, because when it comes to his pre-buffs, we are going to need some more pre-buffs on him for some next encounters. Anyway, seems like one of these fell cats was killed. Of course, Seneshira's spell shield was consumed. Yeah, one of these fell cats is not there anymore. Alright, now let's give this Lich our own spell strike here and dispel all of his spell protections so that we can breach him a little bit later. Imoen is going to be ready for that. Actually, we could... Unfortunately, these Mordenkainen swords kind of split up. And we have a death spell available through our Skull of Death, and I kind of wanted to use it here, but if they would need to bunch up a little bit for that to be more effective. I think we might do that soon. Alright, the other fell cat is no more. Now when it comes to Jaheira, let's check out. Your fire is only 25. You need a potion. You need a potion badly. But Jaheira actually just healed a few seconds ago, so she might not be able to consume that potion. Let's just bring her out of this fire for now. And she's going to go back once she has 75 resistance, once she consumes this potion. Alright, our spell strike is going to be in effect. Let's start casting our breach then. And I think Seneshira is now going to help out with this Ifriti. Alright, everything's fine. Jaheira still doesn't have her fire resistance. The Noble Ifriti is near death. Alright, he is no more. Let's give that Skull of Death to Kirinai, I think, and it's probably somewhere near the bottom. And since these swords are kind of bunched up... Well, actually, now that we can get to the Lich, we'll see how the situation develops. We might want to wait with that death spell a little bit. Alright, so the Lich is done. Let's bunch up ourselves and use our death spell then. Just get rid of that nuisance, and that's it. That's the encounter. Wow, I cannot believe that Sarevok still has his chaotic commands. So even the level 33 Lich could not dispel Animen's level 29 chaotic commands. That's pretty good. That's pretty lucky. Here we're just going to outright activate this, and we're going to need your wave halberd again, Sarevok.
Yes? I am ready.
I hear you well enough.
Yes.
There's going to be 2 Burning Men and 2 Greater Fire Elementals. One Burning Man is going to go down to the wave halberd, and the other one is just going to be hopefully overwhelmed by all the rest of our physical damage. Boom. Alright, just Cinder Shower he managed to cast, and that's it. Of course, these Greater Fire Elementals would also die to the wave, but let's just deal with them the old-fashioned way. By the way, that Fire Resistance Drain lasts for quite a long while. That's why I've been, reapplying these different sources of fire protection that stack, so that we can, just keep going and not have to wait like 30 rounds, I think it lasts, or something like that. It's pretty long. So it's eventually going to, of course, dissipate from our characters. But anyway, we get these super valuable arrows of fire. But anyway, now we have all 4 of the ward stones, and that means we can now activate this machine.
What is it? This will not take long.
Boom, get a lot of personalized experience, and now this barrier holding us back from going upstairs is no more. So let's actually go upstairs and do a little bit here. There's going to be some fire giants and a trap waiting for us, and we're invisible with Kirinai, so that we can just disarm it. Why is that fire giant not showing up? Okay, there we go. All right, now Kirinai is going to. Actually, we can leave her with her shield. She is going to. What's the word? A certain word is just escaping me. She's going to maybe redeem herself or something like that for her failed backstab before. Now she is going to have a successful Kai backstab. And this fire giant is like standing there sweating, being all nervous, hearing that Kai, not knowing what's going on, just glancing at the other dude like, did you hear something? Anyway, we are going to go in for a nice backstab. Boom, 108 damage. That's going to soften him up. Actually, we're going to go for another one very soon, once she can become invisible again. Alright, that's it for you, dude. Is it even going to be worth it? It might be worth it. Boom, yes! That explosion was certainly worth it. Alright. Now we can just... Oh wow, they even give us a scroll of death spell. Trying to tell me something, game? Anyway, someone... Alright, Jahira had some more space for that. Anyway, now that we are upstairs, we're going to dedicate the next episode for some major encounters that we're going to have. But for now, this is going to be it. We are quite on time, actually. So, as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.